Hey guys, welcome back to Crazy Crawlers and Z. So in today's video, as you can see right in front of me, I have the TRAXXAS TRX4 and the FMS FCX24 Chevy K5 Blazer. And in today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys some differences between the two, the price, which one you should buy. So I'm going to be going over all the specifications of both vehicles, their mounting systems, drivetrains, and overall reliability. So, without further ado, let's get into this video. So firstly, I'm going to be going over the wheel and tires on both vehicles. So on the TRAXXAS, you get these super scale looking TRAXXAS TRX4M Bronco style tires. So these tires have no foams in them, but they are vented, so that's good. So they're not like hard and pumped up. Like, they're really good for crawling. But one thing I've had issues with them is when you're out on the trail and you're mudding around, they get pretty binded up with mud inside all the treads, since they're not very deep lugs. So they get filled up with mud pretty quickly, and then you lose quite a bit of your traction when you're trying to climb over roots and stuff like that. And if we move over to the Chevy K5, these tires feel a bit harder, but they do have foams in them. And I must say, these tires do look more scale for the rig, as they're bit. The size matches this truck very, very well. The chrome matches all this chrome detailing along the sides and the front grille bumper. Overall, these tires are very good for the rocks. And these tires are better for trailing. So now I'm going to go over how to remove the body from these two vehicles. So on the FMS, you have these two tabs here. You press them in, and then the front pops up. Same on the rear. You press them in, and then the back comes off. And then the vehicle is separated from its body. Put that back there. And that one back there. Similar thing with the TRAXXAS. But I think the TRAXXAS mechanism is a bit easier to use. So it's just this one big tab on the rear. So you just press it in. Press the rear one in. Pops off nicely. Overall on this one, I give the TRAXXAS a point. The TRAXXAS system is just easier to use in my opinion. The FMS one sometimes is actually very, very hard to get it off, and you don't really want to snap this off the body. So yeah, that round I definitely vote the TRAXXAS for the ease of taking the body off the chassis. So now I'm going to be reviewing the drive shafts and the drivetrains of these two vehicles. On the TRAXXAS one, you have these plastic telescopic drive shafts that are a bit of a pain if they fall out, but if you get a nice metal pin inside there, they shouldn't fall out. All you need to do is unscrew this little hex nut right here, slide it off, and then you can place a pin inside the drive shaft and put it in on an angle and slide it in. I have had a few occasions where the drive shaft has fallen out because the pin had snapped, so I just used like a piece of metal wire, a short like half a centimeter of it, and then I put it in there, and it hasn't broken for about 2.5 months. So that is a pretty good fix and a good upgrade if you want to strengthen your drive shafts on the TRAXXAS. And in the TRAXXAS and the diff pumpkins, there are plastic gears, so no metal gears in the TRAXXAS, which is decent if you don't want to maintain the grease. But even with plastic ones, I'd still recommend putting a bit of grease in there because they still can bind up. Now I'll move on to the FMS. FMS one, you got the same story. You got plastic gears in both diffs. But on this one, I've actually gone ahead and added metal drive shafts because I've had occasions where I've actually snapped the original ones that came with this truck. And that's why I opted for some metal ones, just for that extra reliability. So on the FCX24, it actually comes with a nylon chassis and all nylon links. Everything on here is pure plastic stock. And with the TRAXXAS, you actually get a C-channel steel chassis, which is quite nice to see. It's really strong. But still, all the links on this thing are all plastic. Okay, now I'm going to be talking about motor and transmission. So on the FMS, you get a 130 turn motor. So a 130 size motor, I mean. It provides quite a bit of punch, actually. I'd recommend you not changing this to any size bigger. Otherwise, this truck would actually just completely fly off the cliffs or wherever you're driving it. Keep the stock motor in here. I recommend changing it anytime soon. It's a very good stock motor. I've had this whole motor in here for almost upwards of 3/4 of a year, and it had 0 dramas with it. It's a decent quality motor. Now I'll move on to the TRAXXAS. So as we can see here with the TRAXXAS, it's a bigger motor. It's a 180 size 87 turn motor. So this motor, it actually is a low gear ratio motor. It's quite slow, so if you want to improve its speed, you can get I'm not sure how many teeth the pinion is, but you can get a high speed pinion or even slower pinion for your off-roading and crawling. This motor is pretty good. I wouldn't recommend changing it. So now I'm going to be talking about the car's ESC. So both these ESCs are for brush motors, obviously. So 2S LiPo rated. This one is a PPX4 water rated ESC. So it is intended to be decently waterproofed, and this ESC here, it actually provides some very nice low down modulation when you're crawling. So if we move on to the TRAXXAS one, it doesn't actually specify it as a PPX4. Okay guys, so this is where things take a major turn. This is the size battery on the FMS, and this is the size battery on the TRAXXAS. The FMS one is a 380 milliamp hour battery. The TRAXXAS is a 750 milliamp hour battery. To be honest, this battery with 5C, it barely lets out any amps. So you're going to get 45 minutes of runtime on this. This one is a 20C, so you're going to get about an hour of runtime off of this. To be honest, I've had this battery last longer than this battery when I was out on the trail. So if you put a slower gear in the TRAXXAS, you're going to get an hour and a half runtime on this, more than this. So it's up to you. You can get a 900 FMS battery. That's gonna cost you like $7.99. It isn't a very common upgrade. I just keep the stock battery. It keeps less weight up high in the rig. So that's it for the batteries. So now I'm going to talk about the aesthetics of these scale body shells. So all I can say is FMS one is quite a lot nicer and has a lot more details than the TRAXXAS one. The TRAXXAS one is kind of a dull white color that's a little bit see-through in the light. This one is completely painted and it's super shiny and it has all these chrome fittings on it, and in my opinion the FMS body shells are always going to be better than the TRAXXAS ones. But in saying that, this TRAXXAS one here is a bit lighter than the FMS one, so you're gonna have a less top heavy rig if you go for the TRAXXAS one. The TRAXXAS one is sponsored by Ford. It's a Ford Bronco. Comes with a fake wheel cover in the back. You can fit lights here. It does have LED holes. And the front ones does have LED holes. The TRAXXAS just has LED lights mounted in its bumper. So that's all you're going to get with that truck. So with the TRAXXAS, you're going to be getting straight axles. Whereas if you go for the FMS, you're going to get portal axles. So for the FMS truck, you get more for your money. Whereas with the TRAXXAS, you get a pretty stock and basic truck out of the box. And in saying this, TRAXXAS has more upgrade options if you want to go the extra mile and upgrade your rigs. Whereas the FMS don't have as many, but in saying that, many companies are jumping on board and creating awesome upgrades for these FMS cars. I'm going to name a few of them. Endura is making a whole bunch. Same as RC all-wheel drive. Batrasi and FRC is making some very, very cool 3D printed mods, and who knows what they're going to be making next. But their 3D printed mods look absolutely awesome. I made a video a while ago of my Unimog, FCX24 Unimog, with a campus shell on it from FRC. That thing looks really cool. Go watch that video if you want to learn how to put that thing on. So, to conclude it up here, all I'm going to say is these things cost about the same. The FMS one, well, you're going for a Chinese brand. The TRAXXAS is American owned. The TRAXXAS, you get less for your money. FMS, you get more for your money. It's whatever you want, guys. It doesn't really bother me because I like both of these rigs just as much. So, if you're going to go out and spend the money, you can pick whatever your heart desires. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.